everyone, Rachel here with the NOIC Godcast, where we bring wacky wisdom each week from God's Word. On this episode, we're double dipping into the series Nuggets of Knowledge as we take a look at tips, hints, and spiritual suggestions that can strengthen your soul. Jesus didn't come just to sit on a pew, yet as his hands and feet, that is where we find ourselves the most. Stay tuned as we discuss how we can serve more like Jesus. So the last month or so, we've been reading John in our Bible for the plan that I can't say. And not that it's a secret, I just can't say it. Strategically. It's comprehension. I don't know the order of the words.
Strategic Bible Comprehension Plan.
There you go. So we've been reading John. It's a lot of big words for the last month. Over and over again, Jesus is saying, I'm not here for my will or to do what I want. I'm here to do the work of my Father. In John 12:26, he says, if any man serve me, let him follow me, and where I am, there my servant will be also. If anyone serves me, the Father will honor him.
I just can't breathe well. I'm sorry.
I was like, wow, that's really early.
I'm sorry.
Most Christians are going to say, well, of course I want to serve Jesus. That's what being a Christian is, right? Well, this verse says, if any man serve me, let him follow me. Well, where did Jesus go while on earth? He went to the sinners, to the outcast, the last people you would think he would want to be seen with. And what did he do once he was there? He served them. We're to follow him to the dirty places, to the sinners, the outcasts, the people we think are the worst of the worst. Go there and serve them. Some reason we think some random sinner will just gonna come up to us and then we'll get the opportunity to serve them and do as Jesus asked, but we don't spend enough time following Jesus into those places or going and looking for those opportunities to truly serve others. We so easily serve our brothers and sisters in Christ, which I think is good, but we're not actively following him and serving how he did. Oh, suddenly lost all my power. Okay. Serving to me is simply, I'm simple, so like this is just serving is just putting others' needs above your personal comfort. To me, that's what serving is. And so when I was thinking of when Jesus was finished eating the Last Supper, he washed his disciples' feet. And I think of, I don't know if you preached it or taught it or just talked in general, but how dirty their feet had to be because of the unfavorable road conditions back then. You made a noise.
I agree.
Okay, good. Thank you. The roads were really bad. Even the one who would betray Jesus, and he knew it, he got down and washed his nasty feet. Now, I feel that is uncomfortable. Yeah. That's an uncomfortable situation.
I don't like washing my own feet.
Yeah, seriously. So, I mean, they have nasty feet, and the one that you know is going to betray you, you get down and humble yourself to wash their feet.
I will say something.
Okay.
So the ironic thing, I love that story so much. And like, I feel like it's been a little bit over spiritualized, but if you really study this out, I actually gave a message on this during COVID that no one remembers. But if you
maybe that's what I was remembering.
It could be.
I don't remember.
If you remember, the whole reason in that culture, the whole reason Jesus had to wash feet was actually because, so if you remember the story, Jesus tells them, go get the upper room. He sends the disciples to get the upper room. In doing that, according to that culture at that time in that place, the upper room would have came with a servant who washed feet when they get there, would have served the food. However, this room did not. And so there was a missing servant. That's literally the whole premise of the story that we don't know. The Bible doesn't say that, but that's the history that like makes the whole thing come to life. There was supposed to be someone serving here and they didn't show up for work that day. And so
probably millennial.
Exactly. Millennial.
That adds a whole new context really to calling in sick though. It's like, maybe they don't need me.
Maybe they don't, But the ironic thing is, so here's the 12 sitting around the table and they're like, John should do it. Well, Bartholomew should do it. Bartholomew. That's where you buy the disciples, Bartholomew.
Ezekiel bread.
But they're all sitting around like, he should do it. Well, you should do it. Well, I definitely shouldn't have to do it. Well, and the ironic thing is, knowing the servant was missing, who does it? Jesus. Jesus is the one who humbles himself. He gets down. The last person who ever should have he does the work of a servant. He does the work of a slave, really, in this situation. Yeah. And I don't know what you're going to talk about next, but while I have the mic and while the camera's here, the other thing is, a lot of times when you hear people talking about Jesus serving, this is the go-to scene for good reason. Like I just said, I love this scene. The other thing we have to realize is this wasn't just like a one-time deal for them. This was the pattern of Jesus' life. Like there's so many examples. Jesus served food with the fishes and loaves, right? With multiplying of the 5,000. We find him after he is resurrected. He goes and he cooks breakfast for the disciples on the seashore and he serves it for them. We find him, the water and the wine thing. Like there's so many instances where Jesus is serving. He's serving. And we're like, so many Christians are like, good for him.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. We're all called to serve.
Yes.
And it's a privilege to serve. Like imagine the Last Supper and imagine John and he's like, Lord, I don't see a servant here. Let me. Imagine how that would have changed everything. Yeah. Imagine how John would have felt afterwards. He would not have regretted that decision.
Yes.
Would have ruined the story for us, but that would not have regretted the decision. And that's the same for us. We never will regret serving.
And I think that's the thing too, is like everything that we're talking about, especially this month, it's the whole thing of it being a lifestyle instead of it just being something that's happening. So like we were talking like last week, is worship is a lifestyle, not a event. Serving is not an event.
Yes.
Serving is the way that you are. It's who you are, that through Christ in you, that's who you're supposed to be.
And I think that mindset really changes things. And I think even at our church, that's really changed things because there's a responsibility and ownership that comes with it being a lifestyle. So, for anything we do here at the church, if you are missing, just like the servant, you recognize that was my responsibility. I am responsible for that, and there are people counting on me to do that. And if I'm not here, that is missing. And so that's how it should be with service. If someone has to do the dishes, it should be me. And I know that if I'm not doing the dishes, someone else has to do it. That should be in our mindset. It shouldn't just be like, oh, it's my week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Great point.
Oh, there was a quote that I didn't quote it, but there was one. I want to say it's Elizabeth Elliot, but it might be one of the older guys.
Did you buy her at Bartholomew Mart?
I did not.
Elizabeth.
But it was basically like, which it's like a different take on what the Bible says, but like the reason God doesn't call you to serve in Africa or those big things is because you haven't been willing to serve in these things, in these small things, in your home. And I think that I actually just had a conversation with my mom and dad a couple weeks ago about serving in your home and how like that's your first ministry. Like you are looking, we go out looking for all these like flashy ministries and stuff. Like start in your home, serve there.
And then church, and then ministry, and then community, and that really is the order of operation, really for any spiritual discipline, not just service, but really service is an easiest way to see that. And yet how many, we've had this conversation in our men's ministry so many times where our guys would be like, well, I don't do the dishes. That's a woman's job. And I'm like,
is it?
Or I don't cook. That's what the women are for. And I'm like, Jesus cooked. Samson cooked. Gideon like there's so no. You've been told a lie, friend. But it's that mindset that someone else's job, I don't have to do that. That's a problem. We should be willing to.
Which I think we've talked here before too, that like serving and like this is kind of how I look for opportunities to serve is like that one job that everyone's like, I don't want to do that. That's the one that I try to go for and do.
Seek the lowest seat. Is what Eric Moody says a lot of times. And that's from, the parable Jesus gives about, it's actually a hilarious parable. I actually want to preach on this sometime. I never have. But the parable where Jesus is like, you go to a banquet and you pick your seat and then someone goes to you and says, excuse me, friend, that's not your seat. You have to sit down there. And it's so embarrassing because you chose a higher seat for yourself. So he always says the best way to do it is choose the lowest seat. They can always tell you to move up, but they don't have to tell you to move backwards. And that should be our life. Always seek to do the job no one else wants to do. If no one wants to do the dishes, guess what? This guy will do the dishes. If nobody wants to clean the tables or take out the trash, this guy will do it. If nobody wants to be that person at your home, at your job, at the church, be that person. You will stand out. It will be noticed.
But I will say, don't be that person if you're just doing it for show.
That's what I was going
for show, or even just like,
or like
well, I do all that.
Or fakely volunteering. Like, I'll do it if no one else will. Oh, you're going to. I'll
gonna do it, but since you're gonna do it,
I think lifestyle kind of takes that away.
Yeah.
Like when that's in here, that doesn't even cross your mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you know what I mean? I think that
it's not. I'm gonna pick this up because these people are not doing it.
Exactly. And I think you can kind of tell that in the way someone serves. Like I think it always shows. You know what I mean? If they sneak over to the sink and start doing dishes, and you have to arm wrestle them to get it away.
I will say that happens on us.
It just happened out there, and I lost.
I got kicked out too.
I know. I saw that. I smiled. I asked her how she got you out, and I won't tell you the answer. But
oh no.
But I do think that lifestyle and even just the way you approach it, whether it's in secret. Yep. Jesus speaks a lot about doing things in secret. And so sometimes you can't serve in secret. If there's trash on the table, you can't wait till everyone leaves to take it out. Yeah. But there is something to be said about definitely.
But you can be like, you don't have to be like, I'm picking up this trash. You know,
take a picture of me. Yeah.
For the photo op,
Exactly.
And this kind of goes along with what we've been talking about. Like, there isn't regulations on serving. It can be as simple as helping an elderly lady, load up her groceries in her car, or it could be giving up your life and comforts to move to another country and spread the gospel. Jesus was God on earth. Now, Jesus is no longer physically here, but there's still work that needs to be done, and we get that amazing opportunity to do the work for him.
I think one thing that, and maybe this is just for me, but I think that one thing as Americans we really need to learn is that you will never find an opportunity to serve unless you slow down. Yeah. You have to see the opportunity before you can take the opportunity. And so like you're talking about little old ladies and their groceries, they're slow. I've never met a fast little old lady. No. And so
but you race people to their car.
I literally, like I did that and it happened.
And you got in.
But like I was even thinking, like, I don't know if you guys do this, is such a like this is not even a Christian thing, okay? This is not even religious. But I think it's a good practice. So if someone is coming, you're at a grocery store, restaurant, well, probably not grocery store because they're automatic doors, but you're somewhere where it has doors. Yeah. Do you hold the door open for the next person?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like how long? Like do you just hold it open until they take it?
Until
or
like if we've made eye contact, no matter how far away, I gotta stay, and then it's just so awkward because they're so slow.
Let me check she's got her groceries.
Yeah, no, I think for me, it depends on if they grab it, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But if they don't grab it, then I'll just hold it the whole time.
So like yesterday, it kind of caught my attention because I try to always make that practice. Sometimes it's easier than others. But like yesterday, we went to a restaurant, me and my family, and it was so cold and windy outside. I had the car keys, and Jenny was trying to get Juliet to the car. So really, my family should have, like, I needed to get over there. Well, there's this family coming, and like, I always try to hold the door open. And like, in my mind, I have this like battle going on.
I think it's a Midwestern thing.
But I did the difficult thing, and I held the door open. And here I am blowing out. This is the only rule is don't do it in public and tell people you're doing it. And here I am. But don't do what I'm doing. The point is this. Sometimes all times, you have to be inconvenienced. Yes. You have to see the need and be inconvenienced by the need. I had to stand out there in the cold. I had to do these things in order to hold the door for them. That can make a really big difference to someone just serving in that small way, prioritizing their time, their life over yours. And so I think even starting in those small things, seeing those small needs, it'll lead to bigger and bigger things.
And I really think that, like, especially in strangers' lives, that's a big
people
deal.
Don't do that. I mean, literally, not only will they not hold the door for you now, they won't look at you. They will walk backwards through the door so they don't have to make eye contact.
They'll go to a whole different door.
They really will. They will, yeah.
If I see someone coming out that door, I'll go around the other door.
So I'm assuming this is talking about ministry when you wrote these questions.
Oh, I didn't know I wrote questions. So this should be fun.
So how do you decide what to take part in?
Oh, that's a good question. Good. You should have taken credit for that question.
I did not write that.
I think it falls into the same category. Like last week we were talking about like how to worship and everything. So like, like we were talking about like the people who think like I must raise my hand 3 times, say 4 amens. Okay. So serving is kind of like the same thing is that you don't have a predestined plan to serve. You know what I mean? Like we don't stand outside of the store like I'm gonna hold the door for 5 people. You know what I mean? And like the 6th person coming, you're like, sorry, my shift's over. So
my service is over.
Exactly. It's whatever's in your heart, because if you're doing it from your heart, you're gonna do it. You know what I mean? Every time.
I totally agree. So if you go to Sand Hill, what you guys do?
What?
There's a lot of serving opportunities.
Yes.
And what I've found is the more you serve, the more opportunities find you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even beyond this church. Like the opportunities are a little overwhelming. And so I've come to a place in my life, and maybe this is just something I've come to, and maybe, I don't know, maybe not a lot of people have to deal with this. I've come to a place where I really have a struggle with what ministries do I take part in and what do I just back off from? Now, I may support them all, love them all, care for them all. I'm not saying that, but you only have so many hours in a day. You also have a family. Like you can't just agree to be a part of everything. So how do you decide? Now, maybe in our church that's a little different because really we probably should be involved in all of our ministries.
Yeah.
But outside of, our ministry, other areas of life, I guess that's more of my question is how do you decide on what to take part in? This has been my prayer. I've been praying this for quite some time. Over a year. I don't know how long it's been, but I always pray this: Lord, would you show me what to take part in, what not to take part in? Would you show me what to lay down and what to pick up? Would you take control of my agenda? What do you want? What do you want done today? Yep. Because really my time is his, my hands are his. And so whatever service he wants done, that's what I want done.
Yep.
Right.
Well, you can busy your time doing God's work without following God's will and God's plan. If like we talked about ministry at home, if you're so busy doing God's work, but yet your family's falling apart, what have you really accomplished?
Nothing.
It's interesting. I was on a Zoom call a couple weeks ago and they brought this point up. But we hear it preached so often that Jesus said, follow me. And he did. We should. But do you know more often than that, he said to people, stay home. Like we always think that this is the only option for service. And yet some people had to go back home and serve. Some people had to go back to their town and serve. And so what I'm saying is you need to be in tune with God on what to serve and what not to. You need to be following his lead, not what seems like the obvious
There's no
lead.
cut answer. It's
Exactly.
different for every
It's a
single
personal
family.
relationship. And he's
we also get caught up in like what the world thinks is serving. You know what I mean? And people pat you on the back. That's nice. Good job. You know what I mean? And we kind of get like, I must be doing it right when you're really doing it exactly wrong.
Absolutely.
And you feel, I don't know, a sense of accomplishment at that moment. But then the minute you think about it, you're like, I just wasted all my time for nothing.
I was actually just talking with the pastor after lunch today about that exact thing. But there are so many Christians who are they're caring for the poor, and Jesus says care for the poor, and so I'm doing that. And yet that's not what God's will is for them to do. Not to say that they're not supposed to care for the poor, but they're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
It's a flesh thing that wants to feel satisfaction, and that's the reason they're doing it. And though the Bible says to care for the poor, that's not the service he's asking you to do. It's the heart. And so it's really hard. It's really easy rather to fall into that trap of doing good things for good reasons that feel good. And yet that's not God's will for your life.
And then also we have to be mindful that when we're serving the Lord, we kind of get that, goody good feeling, kind of like when they cross the Jordan. Right. They're like, cross the Jordan. Right. There's the wall. Get the wall. Get the wall. Guy went up for a ladder. He's like, but, as we know, God was like, stop. Like, you can't do this on your own. So when we find ourselves doing them on our own, you know what I mean? Like that is another like red flag to say, like, wait a minute, I'm doing this like, where's God? You know what I mean? God's like standing back there like, this way.
If you're serving and you can't, if you're serving and it's making you feel distant from God, that may be a sign.
Exactly.
Like we three can at least attest to that. Kevin will probably learn very quickly, but like especially in camp, if there comes a time and place where what you're doing for the Lord makes you feel apart from the Lord, you should not be doing that for the Lord.
It's a bit of an issue.
But it's like you said earlier, it's about having a close walk with God, having a constant communication with God. I was reading this week in John. I don't know which verse specifically, but it's talking about knowing his voice. And I was thinking of like, if I was to hear someone's voice that I hadn't heard in a year or two on the phone, I picked it up, I wouldn't know.
John 10. Okay,
see. If I picked it up, I wouldn't know who it is. I haven't talked to them in years. You know what I mean? Yep. But if it's someone I talk to daily, no matter how CJ's voice on the reveal a few years ago, I could still recognize his voice, no matter what he did to it, because I talk to him every day. The more you talk to the voice, the more you're able to recognize it.
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
And I think it's really important too when you're looking at like the ministries that you're a part of. You have to even pray, not even what ministry you should be a part of, but what's your part in that ministry. So like not everyone's the leader. Right. Not everybody is. So like even if you're a part of that ministry, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be the one doing everything. You're you could be the small part of doing like the little, the back end work,
So can I put you on the spot?
Oh no.
Oh, this is fun.
It's like Sunday school all over again.
You are going to make me
read. You have something to read. I need you to read my consumable
honestly, though, Jamie is the perfect example of this. And I just kind of thought of it. But there was a ministry we had here at the church, and Jamie headed it up for a while, a couple years. I guess in a couple years, a year. I don't know how long a time. She kind of launched
like a long time.
It does feel like it was. Time has moved so slowly and quick. I don't know. But she kind of spearheaded, started the thing, and she ran it for quite some time, did a wonderful, wonderful job. And there came a time where Jamie said, this isn't something I'm supposed to do anymore. Yeah. And I gotta say, in all the years I've been in church, Jamie stepped aside more gracefully than I've probably ever seen anyone ever do that. But that's to the point. Yeah. There was a time when Jamie was called to do that. Mm-hmm. Now the thing is, she's still now a part of that ministry. Yeah. She's not heading it up, but she's a part of that ministry. And so that's what I'm saying is there has to be a process for understanding when to take part, when to still support, but when not to be. Does that make sense?
And I think that's all up to like God. That's the problem, is that people will get caught up in themselves and they want to, like, for me, actually, part of that, I struggled with that for a long time, for like months. I struggled with that, and it was a pride thing. It wasn't it was a like, this is my thing and I need to do it, but it was also a like, well, what is everybody going to think of me stepping out of this ministry, stepping out of this thing? Like, what is, like, is everybody going to just be like, well, who's going to do it if I don't do it? You know what I mean? Like, that type of situation. And so, but then God was like, no, you just do it, and then I'll work it out. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yep.
But like, I mean, that's another red flag, I guess, if you will. If you're only working on ministry because
to be seen,
Mom is going to be there, Josh is going to be there, and I don't want them to get mad that I'm not showing up, then like, what's the point of going?
Right.
You
That's a very good
you
point.
can be mad at me.
Yeah. You'll get over it. I've learned over the years, I don't care.
Yeah. I know you've learned that.
So our next question that Josh wrote, where do you look for opportunities?
Here.
Ooh, everywhere.
Yeah.
No, I think we kind of covered that already.
Yeah.
I think that home is somewhere that's most people neglect. I think that, service, So me and you really, we like to serve. Like it's hereditary. I don't think of all the people that like, I think we all at this table like to work. I'm not saying that, but like we have it in the gene to probably a sinful level. We are over serving. So like I do the dishes at home. I do a lot of the things, and I'm happy to do that. Like I need to do that. I probably need to do that right now. There's some in the sink. But what I've learned is, ironically, that's not only what we're talking about, because no matter how much you serve, there's always a new way to serve. Yeah. So Juliet's a perfect example. I was cooking dinner. Must have been Friday night, I guess. I don't know. One night this week I was cooking dinner, and when I'm cooking, like I got my music going. I usually have a lot of things going on, so I'm cooking, and I'm like, I'm in the zone. And like she was sitting at the kitchen table, and I knew I needed to get dinner done. Like, Jenny's coming home. I need to get dinner done because then I have to get the dishes done before we eat dinner. Like, I need to get dinner done. But Juliet's like, Daddy, it was so sweet. She all she ever wants is just to play with her, participate, do something with her. And usually the answer is no. But this time she's never in 5 years said this, because she's only been alive for 4. She said, Daddy, I really want to spend time with you. Will you color with me? I was like, absolutely, confirmed dinner. But my point is this. That was service.
Yeah.
That was me putting an inconvenience on myself in order to serve her. Did coloring need to be done more than dinner? No, that was so dumb. But that little girl needed attention from Dad. Yes. And that's the point, is service is not just chores. That's what I'm trying to get across. Yes. Service is doing what needs done for someone, even at an inconvenience to yourself.
Yeah, emotionally, physically, like anything. Yeah.
I mean, that can be for your spouse, that can be for your kids, that can be for your parents, that can be for your siblings, that can be for the people at the church. Yep. So seek to serve at home. I wrote these for you guys to answer.
You're doing such a good job.
I think at work, if you go to work, seek people to serve at work. Not just take their garbage out after lunch, but like, hey, how's your day going? Yep. What's going on in your life? Ouch. I broke my knuckles. Let me tell you about that. Just tell,
Can I go get you a Band-Aid?
You sure can. Now we both have to go. But serve people, like invest in their lives, ask of them, work with them. At church, the same thing. Like, just don't think of serving in dishes, chores, trash, mowing the lawn. Yep. Think of serving in real people, real needs.
Mm-hmm. But I also think like it needs to be outside world too.
Yes.
Like when I think that what's funny about serving when it comes to the outside world and like not your churchy atmosphere or home atmosphere, it just comes at such like you were saying with Juliet, because my kids are very bad for that too. And it's very convicting to be like, I know. No, I have to do this. But like, I have to do this more. So like
exactly.
You go, but like when you're out and about, like it's like, you're eating a nice dinner with your family or something, and God's telling you to go do something, go pay for someone something, go talk to someone. Like, it's really inconvenient and uncomfortable, but that's where you have to go. And I think that's what is harder for me, is like I can serve my family and I'm like more comfortable in like the church atmosphere and all those kind of serving. But when it comes to going to the other people, like that's very uncomfortable. But what other way to show them Jesus than through loving and serving them, you know?
And it's a little ironic. We've been reading through John, all the times that Jesus just like shows up.
Yeah.
And like the woman at the well. Yeah. Like just like, hello, here I am. And like he starts poking the bear. Like she wasn't a bear. No. But you get the point, like we're so uncomfortable to do that. And that's what Jesus did the most was just show up in places and do it.
I remember like there was one time when me and my mom were somewhere and there was a woman that looked like she was real struggling because she had like a lot of kids with her, but she was by herself in a restaurant. And like, it was one of those things where I battled back and forth. Like, do I ask her if she needs help? Do I not ask her if she needs help? And we ended up asking her. She ended up saying no. Yeah. But regardless, she still looked at it. She was probably like, why? Like, why would you help me? Do you know what I mean? Like, even if that's another thing is even if the opportunity, they say no. Yeah. That still you went out of your way.
But if it's obedience,
this is a full circle back to the upper room. Peter says no to Jesus about washing the feet. And that didn't end well for Peter, but that's to the point. You put yourself out there to serve. You don't. Your job is to put yourself out there to serve. It's not to figure out what the results will be of that.
That also falls into the same category as like spreading the gospel. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like we have a certain role to play. And it's like we're part of a team. So you do your part and move on, or you know what I mean? Because often we get caught up in, I'm serving you, I did this for you, I did that for you. I'm continually serving you, and you, in some ways, you even enable that person. Like you were only supposed to hold the door for them at the store.
And now you're spoon feeding them their dinner.
What happened? Exactly. Yeah.
No, that escalated quickly.
You know? So it's important, you know, to constantly check in with God. You know what I mean? And like to make this simple, it's like, okay, I open the door for them. God, should I keep should I get a cart for them? Right. God? Okay, get them a cart. Okay, you know what I mean? So like it's important because you could end up just like, and then just the weird way people think, you know, like serving is such a like, I don't know, like for example, like from a man's point of view to a woman, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, let me get the car door for you. I can get my own car door. Yeah. It's like, okay. Or it's, oh, he opened the car door for me.
So you know to that point then, I don't think this is on the questions, but to that point, and to the Peter upper room point, there's something to be said for gracefully allowing people to serve you.
Yes.
I'm not so good at that.
I'm more comfortable in being
I would rather serve circles around you than you take my plate to the garbage. And yet I've learned like it's almost a competition at lunch every Sunday of who gets to take each other's plates. Yes. And like I found myself eating quickly, trying to beat everyone because I want to do that job. I want to be the one serving. And yet Jesus says, I'm here to serve you. Yeah. Sit down, Peter. Yes. Yeah. And that's the exact same thing, you know, car door for a lady, Jenny, you know, I try to do that for her and I've kind of had that reaction at times before, you know, I can get my own door. But there's something to be said for gracefully allowing people to serve you because just like you said, people need to learn to serve. They can't learn to do that unless they have someone to serve.
Yes. Right. Yes. But there's so many, I feel as there's so many opportunities to serve because like pretty sure I shared the story about I was coming here for the men's meeting and the older guy with going to the laundromat and everything. So like ever since I like totally fumbled that, you know what I mean? Like anytime I see someone like walking in like an adverse situation, I'm like, hey, you need a ride? You know what I mean? And like I'm quite sure like to some people they're looking at me like, no,
I'm not getting in your car.
And like it was when
doesn't matter how much free candy you have.
Right. My white van.
Muffins.
But, he's
the muffin man.
You're the muffin man.
It'd be muffin on the side. But it was during that weekend when Werner tried really hard to kill us. It was like
you gotta be more specific.
No. That was everyone knows
Christmas.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you know, I live right behind a grocery store, but I still drove because I'm like, I'd rather go start my car and get it warm and drive 30 feet. And then anyway, so like I was coming back and like there was like a young couple and they had like a lot of like, you know, stuff. And I was like, you guys need a ride? And like they couldn't hear me like, what? I'm like, you need a ride. And I started walking closer and I was like, dude, you need a ride? And they're like, oh, no, we're okay. And like, and I was just thinking like,
this guy just following behind in the car.
And like part of my head is thinking like, clearly, like, a ride would be so much help to you. You know what I mean? But the option wasn't for me to like pull up on them and slam when the door open. You know what I mean?
Put a hood over their head.
Exactly. Where are we going, people? You know what I mean? And like even like yesterday when I got home, you know, I like turned my car around and there was a guy walking with. I live behind a grocery store, so everyone has grocery bags. But he had like a severe limp. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow, he could probably use like a ride. And like, so I pulled back out my driveway and I'm like, sir, can I take you somewhere? And he goes, no, I'm just going right there. And he points to the house and I'm like, darn it, another one. You know what I mean? And like, and I had
Kevin's
to like
taxi service.
but like, I found myself trying to make up for that one time when that guy may have said, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So do you think that was the disciples after this night? Every time they're like, why wash your feet?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So we have to be mindful, you know, like we're here to serve, but not every situation requires us to be the server.
Yeah. Right. I think that goes back to it's a mindset. Yeah. So like you're willing to serve. You can't control the outcome.
Right.
You know, you might ask a person every day the rest of your life and they may all say no to you. Yeah.
Right.
But
I'm gonna get conscious then. Does my car stink?
Well, what was the
obedient heart?
Yes.
That's what matters.
Name of the preacher that never saw anybody saved? What was it?
Oh, you're talking about the guy?
Jeremiah. He never saw anybody saved.
That preacher, that threw me off. I'm like,
I know. I was thinking of the guy.
Go with this.
Yeah. But like that's what like he went and that's what he was called to do. He was called to do this and he never saw any fruit from it. That's
so serve with rejection on knowing in advance that you can.
It's just about an obedient heart.
Yeah,
I think that's
really
just what it boils down to.
That's what God's interested in.
Right. Right.
And I think it's interesting to note that service doesn't always look nice.
Most often
it looks like dirty feet.
Well, no, I'm saying more like if me and Rachel are friends, and part of that service to her is the emotional, you know, like that different thing. If she needs me to slap her upside the head, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's the hard thing.
Yeah, it's the hard thing. It's the you're not constantly, oh, you're just doing great. Oh, awesome! I'll wash your socks for you.
The funny thing is, so like working in camp, working in church. I don't want to say this the wrong way.
You're probably going to.
I probably should have just kept my mouth shut, Jamie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It never. So
you say it, and then we'll translate.
It never ceases to amaze me how people volunteer when they know work is going to be done until they hear the specifics of what they're volunteering for, and then they're like, "Got anything else?"
Listen, I get it,
and that's okay.
Yes.
Like, I'm not at all bashing that. But again, it comes back to a heart thing. And a heart is willing to wash even the hard things. Smacking up beside the head, washing dirty feet. Like, when you have a servant's heart, your heart is to serve no matter how severe the serving is.
How uncomfortable or how hard it is. And God will provide with you what you need to do what you need to do.
Absolutely.
So, I was going to move on to the considerable
I think I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. So, have you ever realized that you can give things to God that are of value to Him? Or are you just sitting around daydreaming about the greatness of His redemption while neglecting all the things you could be doing for Him? I'm not referring to works, which could be regarded as divine and miraculous, but ordinary, simple human things. Things which we would be evidence to God that you are totally surrendered to Him.
That's a good
Oswald Chambers.
That's a good one.
He's also one of my old favorite dead guys.
You've never quoted him.
Favorite old dead guy.
He's not a typical one.
Octopus.
He's not. I don't typically quote him, but he popped up on one of my things.
I have a very short list of about 5 names that I search for, and he's on that list.
Yeah. So,
for quotes.
And feature content I did, If We Are the Body, by Guessing Friends.
Give us, what does that sound like?
The song?
Yeah, how's that go? I don't remember.
You do. Everybody knows that song.
Kevin, do you know that song?
See? Say yes.
See?
Yes. Kevin.
It just plays it.
Hey, Kevin, there's a guy over there with laundry. No, never mind.
For your charge up challenge this week, I just want you guys to try to look and find one way to put someone else's needs above your own comfort. Be activity.
Actively.
Actively.
You're spelling again.
I was like, I don't even know what that's supposed to say. Be actively on the. I think you guys, all 3 of you got it. I didn't even know.
we speak Rachel.
I don't. Be actively on the lookout for the ways that you can serve others and point them to Jesus. That could be at Walmart, school, work, wherever. So last week's trivia answer, did you say the answer first?
So Tiffany McDonald was the first that I saw that got it right. She actually even put not only the year, but the theme, which was White Flag Faith. So overachiever. Thank you. Mom also got it right, but Tiffany was first. So.
Good memories.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess that brings us to this week's.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So what was our newest addition to camp in 2015? Was that the escape room, 9 Square, Mestival, or Prayer Stations?
Ooh.
Do you know the answer?
So,
I do.
Did she tell you the answer?
Yeah, we already talked.
Well, we talked about it, but I knew beforehand. Yeah.
Do you know this?
Oh, I told you the answer, and I'm kind of not remembering now. So hopefully you remembered what I said because I don't remember
the
now.
answer. I knew the answer. I had to make sure I had the right year.
Yeah,
you
gotcha.
told me the year, so if the year is wrong,
Okay.
Top of that, you want to make
Okay.
sure that there
Then I
wasn't
know
something
the
else
answer.
that was also.
I did, and I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that those all were different years.
Okay.
I did not realize those were all different years. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So with something else that Josh is going to say.
So this coming week, 2 days from now, is Kevin's birthday.
Kevin, happy birthday!
And so we're giving a shout out to Kevin.
29 again.
That's right.
You only turned 21 once.
What happened to 8 years?
Oh yeah, I don't know what happened.
I'm just saying, you only turned 29 once.
That's why I'm so confused.
You know?
Like that, 9 years of my life gone.
What happened?
It happens. It happens. Trust me, it happens. It happens.
Oh goodness.
All right. Well, comment below, say happy birthday to Kevin, and answer the poll trivia. Whatever we're doing here.
Poll trivia.
The poll trivia.
Trivia. Oh, the other thing.
Okay.
This Saturday we have the youth rally
yes.
theme reveal.
Ooh.
Yes.
If anyone has made it to the end of this episode, we hope to see you there.
Missy, Mom, Miguel.
Tiffany.
Yes.
We will be giving away some camp gear, some giveaways for the theme. We'll also be giving away a free registration
Ooh.
to over $100 value. And so make sure to come for that. We'll have a great church service, and we'll be revealing the theme for this year's camp. And so make sure to be at the NYC theme reveal this Saturday, March 25th
Yes.
at, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Today's
at
the
6
19th.
p.m. at Centerbrook Free Baptist Church at 360 North Clayton Street, Centerbrook, Ohio.
Wow, that is impressive. Did you read that somewhere?
I just pretend to be crazy.
Yeah.
GPS yesterday. He remembered. Oh.
You have moments of clarity. Is what it is.
I should be the
That was the first one in 31 years. Well, we're going to quickly end this. So
Please
make
do.
sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Too far.
Beautiful.
I like how he just automatically points at Josh. He's gonna be the first to talk.
So rude. So
He's gonna be the first one to talk. Do we need that door like officially closed, or is that acceptable?
Yeah, say your part again.
We're halfway. The door was open. Sorry, I gotta do it again.
Did you hear it's a secret series?
It's a